Can you find a healthy donut? The donuts in this video are the best tasting and healthiest donuts out there. If I'm gonna splurge, it has to be decadent and unforgettable, and I really don't want to feel like crap afterwards. If you keep it to under 3 of these bad boys in one sitting, you should be all right. So here's why you should always make donuts from scratch. See, the best donuts are made with either lard or shortening, and lard and shortening both have trans fats in them. The problem with trans fats is that they're banned in most states and also other parts of the world. So what donut companies and bake shops that have relied for years on shortening and trans fats do is they're using this next best thing, which is actually the worst thing for you, ultra refined hydrogenated oils. That's what they really should be banning. But unfortunately, that's what most donut shops are using to make donuts like these. Turn off the camera. It's not bad enough that most of the oils are extremely processed. They add other elements to them to keep the oil in the fryer from foaming up when it gets old. Look, I want to eat healthy all the time. That's why I started this channel. So I'm going to show you how to make the best donuts, and everyone in the family will love them. Just don't tell anybody who doesn't need to know that they're gluten-free. I've been going to my happy place, Block Island, Rhode Island, at least once a year, and this year was the first year I tried Payne's Killer Donuts. Soft like a cake on the inside, perfect crispness on the outside. Now, because they were so fluffy, I felt like I could make them gluten-free if I knew how to make a donut. Greeks by law are not allowed to make donuts that have a hole in the center. I'm kidding. Greek fried dough balls are the Greek version of donuts, and they're called loukoumades. They are super delicious, decadent, and unforgettable. I make mean loukoumades, and you need to make them as well. Trust me. A link to the video will be available at the end of this video. I started by scouring the web for recipes and carefully decided on the recipe from Erin Jean McDowell as a starting point. But I had to make them healthier. I've substituted conventional flour with Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 gluten-free flour. Working with gluten-free products in the past, I felt that her recipe would not only survive well without the protein structure and classic wheat flour that gives a baked product elasticity and stretch, but it would also make them better. If you want to make them with regular flour, go for it, but my gluten-free version actually resembles Payne's Killer Donuts more. It's very crucial that you pay attention to the temperature of your products. The recipe for these donuts is in the description, and there's a link to a PDF printable version down there as well. Start by taking out 225 grams or 2 sticks or 1 cup of unsalted butter from your refrigerator, along with 2 large organic eggs, and leave them on the counter until everything is at room temperature. I'm using this amazing grass-fed butter from Lewis Road Creamery. I love this butter and reviewed it in a previous video. Great, healthy, all-natural butter. Link to that review will also be available at the end of this video. If you don't have unsalted butter, no worries. I'll tell you in a minute how to adjust for that. We're gonna make 12 donuts. You can use a muffin tin to make these donuts, and the first time I made them, I did just that, but they came out more like a cake than a donut. So I'm going to use these silicone donut molds instead. The cavities are about 3 inches in diameter, or 75 millimeters, and about 1 inch high, or 28 millimeters high. You want to use a neutral avocado oil and spray the inside of your donut molds with that oil. Please don't use crappy non-stick sprays. Pick up a pump sprayer like this one, or this one. Preheat your oven to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 176 degrees Celsius. For the best results, weigh your ingredients. In a bowl, sift 250 grams of Bob Red Mill's 1-to-1 gluten-free flour. Again, feel free to use a great traditional flour like King Arthur's Organic. Your choice, same quantities. 18 grams of aluminum-free baking powder. I finally grind my Celtic sea salt and use 4.5 grams of it when I use the unsalted butter. With salted butter, only use 3 grams. 5 milliliters or 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and you're gonna want to grate some fresh nutmeg, about ½ teaspoon or 2.5 milliliters. Whisk all these dry ingredients together. You're gonna make the batter for your donuts in a standing mixer, and it's really important that you use one of these silicone paddle attachments. Cream 140 grams of the butter, 165 grams of light brown sugar, and 50 grams of organic cane sugar on medium speed. In about 5 minutes, it'll aerate and become light yellow and fluffy. Add the room temperature eggs one at a time, making sure that the sides are scraped down. Then add the vanilla extract. Here is a really important step that will take these donuts to another level. Juice your own apples rather than using store-bought apple cider. These are organic Honey Crisps. They come from a local orchard, and when I juice them, the color is perfect and my whole test kitchen is filled with the aroma of fresh apples. No juicer? No problem. Grate the apples into a cheesecloth and squeeze out as much juice as you can. You're only going to need a half a cup, or about 236 milliliters. It is incredibly important for me to turn on the cameras so you can see what I did, but I missed that step, so I apologize in advance. But basically, you just keep your mixer on the lowest setting, spoon in the flour mixture into the butter really, really slowly until it's incorporated. And then with a very steady stream, you're going to pour in the apple cider until it looks like this. You can spoon them into the mold or use a piping bag. I divvy the mix up evenly into each donut mold. You're not going to fill these all the way, only about 2/3 of the way. It's going to take about 15 minutes to bake, plus or minus a few minutes, depending on your oven. So rotate the trays a couple of times and monitor the cooking process until they're golden brown and until a toothpick inserted comes out clean. While they're baking, melt the rest of the butter. Whisk 100 grams of organic cane sugar with 1 teaspoon or 5 milliliters of cinnamon together. So here's something I just want to point out. When you go too high, you could see that the donut doesn't puff up. It floats up, almost like becomes like a muffin top. You see here I put too much mix. So it's almost better to put a little less than a little more so it becomes more like a donut. And then carefully remove them from the molds. Brush them with the melted butter, dredge them in the sugar and cinnamon mix, and repeat that on both sides. I enjoy these both warm and out of the oven as well as cool, and they'll be fine on the counter for a day or two, if they last that long. I do not recommend refrigerating them. A couple things I tried that didn't work. Monk fruit sweetener instead of sugar. Wish it did, but it really killed the texture. I tried store-bought apple juice instead of cider. No good. See, the natural pectin in the fresh apples really gives it a nice elasticity. And if you combine that with the fluffiness of the rice flour in the Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 flour, it actually makes these donuts taste better than just using regular flour. Now, I could also not get this dish to work by replacing the sugar with agave either. Look, we all have different opinions on what is and what is not considered healthy. I mean, if you're vegan, well, these donuts aren't healthy. If you're on a low-carb diet or maybe completely against sugar, whether it's organic or not, you're not going to think this dish is healthy. But here's my tip of the day. Just because a dish may not be the healthiest for you, doesn't mean you shouldn't try to use the healthiest ingredients. And not only will the dish taste better, it will also make you feel better, especially if you splurge on donuts like these. Let's give these a taste. Oh, I love these donuts. They're so good and fluffy, crispy on the outside. I can't even imagine having just one of these. They're so good. It's gonna be so hard to have just one. Don't tell people they're gluten-free. They don't need to know. You will absolutely wow anybody you serve these donuts to. I wanna know more about you. So please leave a comment down below, especially if you make these donuts. I wanna know what you think. Check out one of these videos. Cheers.